Guys, I was shocked. I was shocked. No one could have prepared me for Tyler. No one could have prepared me for Tyler. Guys, I feel Love Island has won me back. I feel Love Island has won me back. Wow. That was a great episode. The plot twist at the end, guys, let's get into it. I've literally just got back, I've caught up, and I feel Love Island has won me back. Oh my gosh. Anyway, hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone's doing okay and everyone is doing well. Another day, another Love Island review. Guys, what on earth was that ending? What do you mean Tyler is back? There's a lot for us to speak about. So as I usually and always say, number one, if you haven't yet subscribed, be sure to subscribe and devote join the family. Also be sure to follow me on my Instagram and also my Twitter at SarahDestinyX. And number three, as always, get cozy and comfy for hot Ibina or some snacks, and let's get into today's review. So I literally just caught up, so I literally just got in, so I'm running a bit behind on the schedule, guys. I'm sorry, but we had to catch up because after seeing the tweets, I said there's no way Tyler is back. There's no way Tyler's back, so let's get into it. So let's start off with Kaz and Mitch having a conversation, aka Messy Mitch, and they were speaking about the whole Demi situation, with him saying, of course, that Demi would have been his number one and was the best one here, etc, etc. And of course, that definitely throwing Liberty off as well. Liberty ended up crying, saying that she feels like a mug, and then Demi, what was really weird, like Demi came over, and you know what? The ending was necessary. Sorry, spoiler alert. Demi ends up going home. Okay. It's a shame because you guys know, and if you were in yesterday's live, also shout out to everyone who was in yesterday's live yesterday, because a lot of the things that you guys said you wanted to happen happened, because who in their right mind actually thought that Tyler was going to come back? You guys were messaging it in the chat yesterday and I said there's no way he's going to come back, and he comes back the next day. He comes back the next day. Anyway, I digress. But speaking about the whole Demi situation, so Demi went over to them, was just like, oh my gosh, guys, you guys know, like, because Liberty started crying, she was like, you guys know you're my best friends in the villa. And it's just very interesting to me because when the season first started, I did tell you guys, I really like Demi, okay? She's definitely good vibes. I don't feel like she was so bubbly and just so cute and da-da-da-da. But the whole situation with Luis and then with Kaz and then with Mitch and Liberty and stuff, it's just been a bit weird. Like, you keep calling these people your best friends in the villa, but you don't act like they're your best friends because there's something called girl code that you don't seem to be adhering to. But that's just my personal opinion, okay? But in all honesty, I have already been telling you guys this, that I just have never thought it was worth it for Liberty to be crying over Mitch. Of all guys in the villa, Messy Mitch is not someone that should be triggering you, okay? It really isn't that deep. Now let's move on to Georgia saying that Josh and her were kissing. So Georgia was, no, let me go back. So Molly and Callum were having a, not Molly and Callum, Molly and Josh were having a conversation on the terrace, right? And Josh was pretty much letting her know that, oh, you know, I really want to get to know you, I'm really interested. And then she was like, okay, well, that's cool or whatever, but I feel like it's very important that you have a conversation with Georgia. And then he said, yes, he is, and that he's going to also have a conversation with Callum. Okay, so nip that in your head. Now, in the next scene, Georgia was speaking to both Molly and also Josh around the fire pit. And I feel like at first, and this makes sense when I get into the review later on, but I feel like at first, you know, Georgia was like, well, I get that you want to get to know Molly, because Molly's sitting right there, by the way. I get that you want to get to know Molly, but, you know, you were literally kissing me, you were doing this, you were doing that. And I feel like she was saying that out of frustration and almost as like a defensive mechanism for her to not feel like she was being quite hurt and rejected in that present moment. Of course, you guys know Molly and I ended up walking away. And yeah, when Molly left the scene, that's when she literally blurted out, actually, don't you think that we're actually not compatible? And yeah, we'll still be friends and da-da-da-da. So once again, I feel like it was a defense mechanism. I don't know why I'm talking so fast. Slow down, Sarah. I feel like it was a defense mechanism just to try and stop her from feeling upset and also trying to guard her heart in that situation. I know I'm getting a bit deep here, but you don't go from telling someone, oh, you really want to get to know them and everything, and all of a sudden, actually, there's no connection and I don't really care anymore. And we see that later on because we see that she ends up crying. Now, let's move on to Josh now speaking to Callum about him wanting to get to know Molly. I don't know why Lewis was sitting there as well, but just downloading gist as you do. I also say something. Callum is a very good looking guy. I don't know if I said this in one of my previous videos, but Callum is actually, he's a really good looking guy. I do respect Josh for speaking to him because he could have been, you know, quite sly and, you know, just gone under the bushes and tried to do X, Y, Z and be very sneaky for everything. But, you know, I guess Callum low-key gave him the blessing that he needed. I was just like, yeah, you can definitely crack on. So it's also quite interesting to see the dynamics between Callum and Molly's situation changing when we know that they've literally been speaking about it for God knows how long. And I'm still going to get into it later because Molly ended up crying and I just really didn't understand why. Now let's move on to Georgia. Georgia was now speaking to Arabella about the situation with Josh and she ended up crying. And it just goes back to what I said before. I knew that she liked him. So when she randomly was like, actually, we're not compatible. So yeah, let's just be friends. It wasn't making any sense. I mean, literally a few hours ago, you were saying how much she really liked this guy. So it definitely was a defense mechanism for her. I still feel like it's early days, guys. I swear this is episode 7. Okay, it definitely still feels like early days. So the fact that there's crying involved as well also says quite a lot. And I get it, they have shared a few intimate moments in the bed and on the villa and in the terrace and blah 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 whatever, but yeah, it seems quite intense for just 7 days. It's just me, maybe I'm a slow burner, I don't know, but no guy is gonna have me crying after 7 days. No. I'm sorry, no. Now let's move on to the nighttime. Georgia decided to sleep outside, and what was also so, I just feel like the girl code in this season is so interesting. So Georgia was sleeping outside. She was initially in the female dressing room where they get ready, and Kaz was there, and she was just like, yes, like I'm gonna sleep outside. I need to protect my peace. I need to do this. Molly is literally right there, and then Molly comes over to hug her. How are you coming to hug me when you're the reason the guy I like doesn't like me anymore? And Molly was like, oh babe, I don't know, am I looking into this? Obviously, maybe they're just not friends. Okay, no everyone that entered that villa has to be friends, but I just found it really weird. Now let's move on to the following morning. We'll speak about some of the boys' chats and also some of the girls' chats. So starting off with the boys. Also guys, sorry, just a quick one. How much would you rate today's episode? I know yesterday in the live, majority of people rated it a 4.5. I feel like today's episode for me, with that cheeky plot twist at the end, I'm gonna give it a 7. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7, max 7.5. I won't give it an 8. But that plot twist was really plot twisting. Anyway, back to the morning chats. So let's start off with the boys. So the boys were speaking, and the boys were saying that Callum was saying, sorry, that it is done with Molly, and they were like, oh, they don't think that it is, but you know, if that's what you're saying, that's fine. And then they were confirming to him that Georgia and him really suit. I guess they do. I don't know if I don't think they don't suit. So yeah, I guess they do suit. If you move on to the girls' chats, Molly was saying that when it's not there, it's not there, and it's really triggering her, because essentially if Callum was really going to put in effort, then he would say X, Y, Z. And with him cracking on with Georgia, you know, it's starting to make her very upset, and you know, she starts to feel quite anxious and blah blah blah, because clearly feelings are still there. Now I'm going to backtrack and go back to everything that I just said in yesterday's live when I referenced the whole Molly and Callum situation. I don't get what she wants out of him. I don't know if she wants him back. I don't know if she doesn't want him back. He does one thing, she tells him to crack on with someone else. He cracks on with someone else all of a sudden, but he must love me. Like, why is he not that? So I don't really understand. I do feel like the tears are quite unnecessary. I'm sorry, I'm not a heartless person. You guys know this. I do feel like the tears are just a bit unnecessary because I just don't know what she wants from this situation. And I'm tired of the storyline. I know we're only 7 days in, 8, whatever it is, 7 days into the season, but I'm just over, like, this isn't X on the beach. This isn't a psychologist session. This isn't therapy. Like, what do you want out of it? Are you cracking on with someone else, or are you leaving the situation behind? Like, you guys should make up your mind, because I just feel like the tears were a bit weird, considering you literally shouted at him that he needs to move on even after you picked him to be in a recouple with. What's not clicking? I don't know if I'm the one that's overthinking it here, but so far it's not really clicking. Now let's move on to Arabella and Chris talking. Not much to say other than the fact that he did say he is sexually attracted to her. Like, that's the first thing. I don't know if Arabella felt that was a compliment. I feel like she was kind of put off from it, and then he was like, oh, I probably should have said that first, innit? So yeah, you guys already know how I feel about Chris anyway. I mentioned it in yesterday's live, and many of you also agreed with me too. Now let's move on briefly to, I guess, some of the villa chats. Georgia was saying that she's ready for a relationship and she really wants to communicate, and that it's been a year since her last breakup, etc, etc. I do feel like she was saying that to Callum just to kind of let him know how serious she is about wanting to pursue something with him. And yeah, I've already given you my feedback on the whole Georgia situation. I feel like she laid it on Toby way too thick, way too early. I mean, she was acting like they were married with a 4-bedroom house and 7 kids. Like, I'm sorry. Well, 4 kids and 7 bedrooms. Yeah, but it was just a bit interesting. Let's move on to Anton now speaking with Georgia. So in her presence, Anton basically said he was speaking to Georgia and someone else, I think Molly, I don't remember, but he was just like, yeah, like, you know, Georgia, I don't know what he was trying to do, but clearly it worked, I guess. But he was like to Georgia, like, yeah, it was Georgia, like, I was really getting to know her, like, even on a romantic level. And then Josh just came in, and you would think that Georgia wasn't there, but Georgia was physically there listening on the conversation. Anton knew that. So I don't know if that was his version of having game, but it must have worked. And I'm going to get into it later though, even though I don't think him and Georgia are going to last. But yeah, that was very interesting, I'll be honest with you. Very interesting. Now let's move on to Arabella and Toby having a conversation. Once again, very surprised, and I did mention this in yesterday's review as well on live. 32 and 24 is very interesting to me. Like, I know age is nothing but a number, but in that instance, age is something and everything and numbers, okay? Because you need to remember that Toby literally was on, I forgot what season he was on, but it was years ago. So if he's only 24 now and you are now 32, what age was he when you guys had a fling? And I know they said it was a year and a half, but people are saying that doesn't even add up. And on top of that, 32, 24. I know people be saying young things run things, but no young ting is running that type of thing for me at such an age. Okay, that's just the honest truth, but that's just me. But of course, they were speaking about her facial features. He was saying that he really likes her eyes and he really likes her lips, and she was flirting like, oh, you're really saying that because you want to kiss me? So like I said, knowing that they have had physical history now makes me look at them really weird for some interesting reason. But honestly, she needs to be looking at someone closer to her age, only because 32 and 24 is, in my opinion, I think that's quite a big age gap. But who am I to judge, okay? I say that as I give Love Island reviews, but who am I to judge? Now, let's move on to Josh and Molly speaking, and she was saying that she feels like she is a slow burner. And I don't really have much to say other than the fact I find Molly quite boring, if I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I care much about her character in the villa. And Josh as well. I feel like Josh and Georgia were actually very well suited. Like, they even seem to both have this whole, like, punk rock type of situ going on. I don't remember what night it was, but it was given grunge. It was given that, you know, grunge power couple. And yeah, his 180 has been very interesting to see. So we'll see how it goes. But I do feel like Molly is 100% still in love with Callum. And as long as Callum is also still in that villa with her, she's going to be triggered with every single girl that he decides to speak to. Now let's move on to Anton. He said to Georgia that Josh was making it seem like he was a second option, and that, you know, all of a sudden that it's not going to work out. And then Georgia was like, oh, well, he's an F in this anyway. I don't know what Anton was I don't know what Anton was hoping to get out of that conversation, but you know, I guess there was some flirting going on there. They're looking into each other's eyes and stuff. The truth of the matter is I don't see Anton, and I don't know. I don't know who's Anton's type. Like, I don't know who I see in that villa suiting him. Where is Hannah? Anton and Hannah probably could have been a vibe, but Georgia is like, she looks at him and then she smiles for a bit and then she's just like, So yeah, I don't know how interested she actually is in Anton, but let's see. I don't know what I'm saying. All I'm trying to say is that I don't know why it doesn't seem genuine. I feel like it seems a bit forced and they're just trying to hold on to someone. Yeah, and each other. In my personal opinion though. Let me know if you agree or disagree down below. Now, let's move on to Callum and Georgia. Georgia was saying that her and Toby are done, and Callum was saying, he feels like Toby's regretting his decision. And as a guy, you need to know that when you say that to a girl, all the girl is going to want to do is download the gist. I'm going to want to download the gist. So even when Callum was like, oh, doesn't mind, she was like, yeah, tell me, like, is that what he said? It's like, what else did he say? Yeah, because she's going to want to know. But Callum was like, oh yeah, I could just be talking, because Toby was like, yeah, if I could have had that outside, I could have had that on the outside. I hate the way some guys speak about females, by the way. Very derogatory, not a fan. But Georgia was saying, no, he definitely couldn't have me on the outside. But once again, Georgia, you laid it on way too thick, way too early. So it is shameful that Toby is saying these things, but she should have just played it cool from the onset, if I'm going to be honest with you. She was way, way, way too forceful, way, way, way too early. Now, Maya returns looking like fine wines. Shout out to her stylist. She has been eating every single look. No bars. Okay, so she gathered everyone around the fire pit, and then of course Arabella, okay, had the opportunity to of course steal a guy from the couple that they were in, and right before she was about to pick someone, we find out that a bombshell is coming into the mix. Now guys, no one could have prepared me for Tyler. No one could have prepared me for Tyler. No one could have prepared me for Tyler. No one could have prepared me. I said Love Island, I'm awake. You guys have been watching these reviews. Oh, we're awake now, okay? We're definitely awake. So, yeah. Tyler ended up... Guys, I can't believe Tyler's back. I cannot believe Tyler's back. But of course, Tyler ended up walking in. And what was so interesting was, like I said in yesterday's live, you guys were saying it. You guys were like, oh, I want Tyler to come back. I want Tyler. And I remember I literally said, guys, Tyler's not coming back. Like, why would we even want Tyler to come back? And Tyler came back the following day. All right, producers, if you're watching, do let me know. So of course he did say that, you know, it's very interesting to be back in the villa, seeing familiar faces, that it's time to get stuck in, and that he also feels like certain chats need to be had. Now, one thing I don't really like about that phrase per se is because, are you trying to tell me if we weren't invited to come on Love Island All Stars again, the chat wouldn't have been had? Like, I get it, second chances, some people get, some people don't, etc, etc, but it's almost just like, it's given X on the Beach Part 2, because that's how we all felt when Molly and Callum were standing side by each other. And now y'all gonna bring back Tyler? And the truth is, guys, not saying that Tyler was a bad person in his season, he wasn't. But I feel like after him and Kaz's breakup, to some people, he kind of became quite insufferable. And it was almost like, at the end of the day, we were kind of, you know, tolerating him and voting for them, especially because we just wanted Kaz to be happy. So, of course, he did say that certain chats need to be had. With the cameraman, the way it was panning to Kaz and panning off, you didn't know whether she was embarrassed or whether she was smiling or whether she was like, do you get what I mean? It was quite interesting. But, of course, Arabella ended up choosing Chris, making Demi now single. And then Chyler, you know, Tyler ended up choosing Kaz. And once again, I didn't know if I could make out if she was smiling because she was happy or she was just in shock. Because, you know, sometimes you're in shock, you just smile because it's like, what do I do with myself? His speech was quite interesting as well. You know, him saying like, even though there's all these beautiful women in the villa, and even the camera panned to some of the girls, Liberty was screwing her head off. Oh my days. The side eye was so deep. But babes, I also have to give you side eye because you were actually crying over Mitch. Who's crying over messy Mitch? I don't know. But of course, guys, when Kaz went to go stand next to Tyler, I said, oh, the height difference. It's crazy what tall guys can do to your brain. I'm not even joking. Guys, that height difference is a bit of me, because I know Kaz was even wearing heels. Her head was doing this to look up. His head was looking down. Ah! Tall guys for the win. If you're short and you're watching this, your love is also still out there as well. But tall guys for the win, okay? Now, of course, plot twist part 2, Demi and Luis ended up being dumped because, of course, they were now the 2 singletons in the villa. Guys, I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like, initially, I was thinking, oh no, surely they're not going to dump them. Like, maybe they're just going to tell them, pack your bags, guys. And then when they get outside, be like, oh yeah, you guys are going to... No, there was no part 2. Oh, they are definitely on their way back home. First class to Heathrow Airport as we speak. Guys, I was shocked. I was honestly shocked. But of course, you guys know they had their exit interview and Demi was giggling quite a lot. I think she probably is going to try and see if things are going to work on the outside. That might change when she finds out that he is allegedly a deadbeat dad of 2. That's what the streets are saying. Wasn't me. Allegedly a deadbeat dad of 2. But I feel like I'm quite happy that they got dumped, to be honest. Did I expect them getting dumped? I mean, it's literally Monday. No, I didn't expect anyone to get dumped today. But at the same time, Demi started getting on my nerves towards the end, especially like with this whole besties, girlfriends, but you don't seem to understand the basics of girl code, and you have Kaz literally picking Luis and looking like an absolute dozzer. And Luis as well, for me, just wasn't really given. I don't really know where his head was at, if I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know where his head was at, because even when Arabella picked Chris, he was smiling, maybe because he thought he would have a chance to go with Demi. I don't know, but either way, they're both on their first class flight back to the UK, and I do wish them safe travels. But other than that, guys, I have to be honest with you, I actually do feel like it was quite a good episode. I feel like Love Island, yalla. Maybe week 1 was the slow burner. You guys are saying, don't worry, week 2 to 5, we've got all the action for you. So we're very interested to see how the Kaz and Tyler storyline continues over the next couple of days. And just seeing how the rest of the season goes. I don't know if there's anything else I'm excited for, but even if Tyler and Kaz do make it work, I will just be happy, because it means that Kaz didn't waste her time coming back to this villa, because I do feel like the options that they did present her with in the beginning, none of them were tangible at all. Okay, none of those guys in the villas were given, and even when she thought they were given, they completely just took the mick and decided to go for someone else. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on today's episode. I've been yapping so much, I haven't even drank any of my drink, but I'd love to know what you guys would actually think of today's episode in the comment section below. I'm going to try, and it's really late right now, but I am going to try and edit this tonight If I don't post it tonight, I'll definitely post it first thing in the morning, because I love to read you guys' comments on how you found it. But KYLER is on our screens again, and that's crazy. But at the same time, I don't think I'm mad. But yeah, we'll have to know what you guys actually thought of today's episode down below. As always, please do take care, stay blessed, subscribe if you haven't, and also be sure to follow me on my Instagram and also on my Twitter. But thank you so much, guys, I'm tired, it's actually really late, but thank you so much for your love and also for your support. I love you so much. Please do take care, and I shall see you tomorrow. Bye.